Hi guys, here's the next segment in regards to factorizing. We are now going to be factorizing trinomials. Okay. And we'll be looking at a few, maybe about 3 or 4 examples. So just kind of looking here from what we've done previously. Here's our expanded form of trinomial. So binomial being 2 components. When you expand it, it turns into 3. So what happens now is when we do our trinomial factorization, we're actually going to factorize these 3 terms and reverse the process, and it's going to come back and look something like that. Okay, so let's get started. I'm gonna start off with a simple example with x squared minus 5x plus 6. Now with any trinomials, I'm going to be we're going to refer to the format of x squared plus bx plus c. Okay. And b and c are just numbers that we don't know what they are, and we're going to end up with 2 sets of brackets as our solution. Okay. Now with this first example here, we have 3 terms: x squared minus 5x and then a 6. The first step that we want to actually accomplish is really find 2 factors, okay, of c. So whatever the value of c is, in this case the value of c is 6. Okay, so we want to find the 2 factors of this number that fit the following 2 criteria. Okay, so a, that when multiplied it equals the value of c, and b, that it also adds up to the value of b. Okay, so it may be a little bit confusing right now, but hopefully through the next few examples it will become a lot clearer. So this is the value of c, it's 6, and the value of b in this case is minus 5. Okay, so I want to find 2 factors of 6 that fit these 2 criteria. So let's have a look at the factors. So factors of 6 is 1, 2, 3, and 6. Okay. Let's add in the negatives as well. So negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, and negative 6. So I want to find 2 factors here that multiply equals 6. So 2 and 3 equals 6. Okay. So that's great. But also it needs to add up. It needs to add up to the value of b. So in this case, the value of b is minus 5. If I've chosen 2 and 3, 2 plus 3 equals positive 5. It doesn't add up to negative 5. So that doesn't really work out. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to try minus 2 and minus 3, because minus 2 times minus 3 does equal positive 6. That fits the first criteria. But then when you add these 2 values together, it does also equal minus 5. So I think that's a really good solution. So once you found those 2 factors, okay, simply put the square root of x squared into both brackets. So x kicks it off, and then to finish off each of the brackets, you put in the value of your factors. So minus 2 and then minus 3. Okay, so our first bracket is x minus 2, our second bracket is x minus 3. The best way to check if you've got the equation right or the factorization right is simply to backtrack or do the opposite, which is expanding the brackets. So foil or crab claw, you expand these two brackets and you should get that. Okay, great. So there's the first example. The next example, I might section this off, that way it doesn't get too confusing. Okay, so second example, I'm looking at something a little bit simpler, but hopefully reinforces your understanding of this concept. X squared plus x minus 6. Okay, I want to find factors of minus 6 that multiplied to equal minus 6, but it also adds up to the coefficient of this number, so of this polynomial, which is going to be 1. Okay, because it's a negative 6, we know that one factor has to be negative, one factor has to be positive. So conveniently we've got our selection of factors here, and you can trial and error, have a look, but the more you are familiar with your multiplication tables, I'll just jump to the answer and let you know that it is going to be a positive 3 and a negative 2. Okay, so I'll put 3 and negative 2 there. They're my two factors of negative 6. So if I multiply 3 and negative 2, it does give me negative 6. So that gives a tick for the first criteria. If I add the two numbers together, 3 minus 2 gives me 1. That fits the second criteria. So that is a goer. Open the brackets. We're going to square root the x squared, put the x's in each of the brackets, and then we're going to finish off our factorization by putting in our factors. So positive 3 and negative 2. So our factorized form of this trinomial is x plus 3, x minus 2. Again, as I said before, if you're wanting to find out if you factorize it correctly, expand your brackets through FOIL or crab claw and you should get this answer. Okay, so that's the second example. Let's move on to third example. Here we have 2x squared minus 10x minus 28. Okay, the difference here is that we've got a number in front of the x squared, whereas in these two cases we don't. What would be great is that we get an expression that does just have an x squared, so to eliminate the 2. There are a couple, well, the only way to actually eliminate the 2 is to make sure that this number is a factor of the other two. So you want to actually find the highest common factor between each of the three terms. 2 does fit into 10 and it also fits into 28. So if we take the factor of 2 out of the three terms, okay, 2x squared divided by 2 gives you x squared. Minus 10x divided by 2 is minus 5x. Then minus 28 divided by 2 is minus 14. So I've taken 2 out of the three components and I'm left with this term. So now I've got an expression here that is as simple as these two up above. Okay, what I do now is then factorize this expression. Simply I find what the factors of minus 14 that fit these two criteria. So let's firstly write down the factors of minus 14. We have 1, 14, 2, and 7. We also have our negative factors, minus 1, minus 14, minus 2, and minus 7. Okay, so two criteria, pick two numbers here. When you multiply them together, it multiplies to negative 14. I'm going to tell you that 2 times minus 7, so I'm going to pick 2 and I'm going to pick minus 7 as my factors. 2 times minus 7 does equal minus 14, so it does equal this third term. So that's great. The next thing I want to check is if it fits the second criteria, that it adds up to this value. In this case it's minus 5. So 2 plus minus 5, 2 plus minus 7 does equal minus 5. Okay? So it does fit the second criteria. Don't forget to still include your factor of 2. That does not get left behind. So we're going to do exactly the same thing with this term as we've done with these top two. Your x begins both of the brackets, and our factors are going to finish off each of the brackets. So my first term is minus 7, okay, and our second term is going to be positive 2. Alright, so here's my factorized form, and that should be fantastic. Right. The last part for this video segment on factorizing trinomials with this particular form, just really quickly, x squared minus 8x plus 16. Now, by looking at it from a glance, you might not see or notice much, but later on, the more you do expressions like this, you'll start to see a bit of a pattern. And the more you're familiar with your times tables and squaring and square root factors, you'll be able to pick up on these things a lot easier. But don't stress, just take your time, play it the safe way if you feel more comfortable with that. But it's, yeah, totally fine. Okay, guys? Now, as I said before, we've got three terms here. We're going to find factors of the third term that meets two criteria. One, when multiplied, it equals the third term. The second criteria is that when you add those two factors, it fits the second term. Okay, so let's list our factors of 16. 1, 16, 4, 2, and 8. I think that's it. And don't forget your negatives. Okay, so minus 1, minus 16, minus 4, minus 2, and minus 8. Now, let's see. We know that two positives makes a positive, and we know that two negatives also makes a positive when you multiply it with each other. But the case is this: if we had a 4 and a 4, okay, because 4 times 4 is 16, when you add the two together, it does not equal negative 8. It's a positive 8, so positive 4s does not work. But in this case, if I have two factors that is negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16. Okay? But also, it meets the second criteria, because when you add these two numbers, it does equal negative 8. So what's good about this is we have x to begin with, and we have minus 4 in one bracket, and we have minus 4 in another bracket. What we end up here is two brackets that are exactly the same, okay? And we can simplify it by just saying that it is x minus 4 squared. Okay. What we have here, guys, is simply coming back to just factorizing perfect squares. Okay, see what we have here is basically this example going back to here. Okay, we've expanded perfect squares x minus 4, which ends up with this expanded expression. I've used the same example but going backwards, and we've ended up where we started in this first case. Alright, so what you need to identify, if you can actually spot the perfect squares, because 16 is a square root, you got 4 and 4. Okay, x squared is a perfect square. You can actually put those components in and know that minus 4 and minus 4 gives you minus 8. Just some little tips and tricks here and there, if you can actually spot them. Otherwise, if it is a bit unclear and you're a little bit sketchy about it, then just go through the regular steps of finding the factors that meets the two criteria, and then simplify where possible. Now the next video, guys, will be very similar to this. We are going to be factorizing an expression, but of a different form. So guys, peace out. I'll see you later. Hi guys, this is the next segment, but we're going to be factorizing a different form of quadratics. In the previous video, we had a form of x squared plus bx plus c. Okay, but we're going to look at how to factorize something with a coefficient of x squared, which I'm going to label as a. Okay, I'm just going to go and refer to this equation here that I did in the previous video, and just kind of showing the parallels. Minus 28 is c, minus 10x is bx here, and then 2x squared is resembling ax squared. Now what I was able to do, oops, here we go, sorry about that. So again, we got minus 28 referring to c, we have minus 10x that refers to bx, we have 2x squared that refers to ax squared. Okay, so what I've done here with these three terms, I was able to find a highest common factor for all three terms. And so the highest common factor was a 2, and I took the 2 on the side and I've stripped down the three terms to what was left over. So x squared minus 5x minus 14. Okay, that brought me to this form, which then I was able to actually factorize back to its binomial expression. Now, with this segment, it's not going to be as simple as that, and you'll come across three terms that doesn't have a common factor through all three terms. So here's an example here. We have 6x squared plus 19x plus 10. Okay, if we look at the three numbers here, 6, 19, and 10, there is no common factor with all three numbers. So we have to do something else just to get our way around to solving these type of equations. Okay, so what I want to do, first step, is to multiply both a and c. So that number by that number is what I want to multiply. In this case, that is a, and the 10 is a c. Okay, so let's do that. 6 times 10 gives me 60. Okay, once I get to this stage, then I pretty much am back to where I was before. I need to find two factors of 60, okay, that meets the two criteria. Now, the criteria that it, when multiplied, it equals 60, and when you add the two factors, it actually adds up to 19. So let's list all the factors of 60. 1, 60, 2, 30, 3, 20, 4, 15, and then 5, and then 12, then 6, and then 10, and I think that's about it. Great. So there's a big list of numbers, but you want to have two factors that multiplied equals this big number that we've created, and when you add the two factors, it meets and equals that. Okay. So second step, find two factors that multiply to equal the value of AC. Okay, so this, when you multiply A and C, that's AC, and you want to find the two factors that multiplies to equal that, and add up to equal the value of B, okay, which is this value here. Alright, so let's just cut to the chase. I'm going to tell you that it's 4 and 15. 4 times 15 does equal 60, and 4 plus 15 does add up to 19. Okay, so it meets these two criteria. So what I want to do here is then have what we're going to do is we're going to rewrite this expression, but we're going to add these two guys in the middle. Okay, so 6x squared, we're going to then add 15x. What we're doing really is splitting this middle term into two parts. Okay, so we're splitting it into its 15x, and then we're going to split it the other factor, which is 4x. We're going to drop back the 10 down as well, and now we have an expression that has 4 terms. So this is a little bit different to what we've done with previous trinomial expressions when factorizing it. So when we have A and C multiplied, you find the two factors that multiply and equal AC, or these two numbers. In this case, it equals 60. And then you also need to make sure that those two factors add up to this middle number. Okay. Once you found those two factors, we are going to rewrite the expression by splitting the middle term into its two factors. Okay. So what we're going to do, I've put 15x on this side and 4x on that side, and remember what I've done a little bit earlier. When you are factorizing expressions that has 4 terms, you're wanting to split the 4 terms into 2 parts. Okay, let's do that here. So we're kind of combining things that we've covered previously. So let's put a dotted line in the middle. Now I've got 2 components. Okay, we got 6x squared and then 15x. We're going to find the highest common factor for these 2 terms. So let's put step 3. We're going to factorize the 4 terms. And then group the expression. Okay. And this will come clear as I finish this example. 2 numbers, 6 and 15. The highest common factor between 6 and 15 is a 3. Okay, so I'm going to put a 3 there. The highest common factor between x squared and x is x. So there is a common number and a common letter. Okay, 6x squared divided by 3x is 2x. And then 15x divided by 3x is 5. So if I factorize this first half, I'm going to do exactly the same thing with this second half here. Okay, so the highest common factor between these two is a 2. Okay, there's no common letters, so we don't need to put that on the outside, but 4x divided by 2 is 2x, and then 10 divided by 2 is 5. Okay, almost there, almost there. Okay, this looks a little bit familiar now. Remember this again, we're going to factorize by grouping. We're going to see what the like terms are. So in this case, x minus 1 are the same brackets, and then the outside terms is x plus a. In this case here, the identical brackets or groups is 2x plus 5. And then in your second brackets, to finish off this example, is to throw in the outside components, which is 3x plus 2. And there you have it. You have your factorized version of that equation into that form. As I said, if you're wanting to find out that you've got it right, the best way to do it is the opposite. Opposite of factorizing is expanding. So you expand your brackets through FOIL or crab claw, and you should get that. Okay. Okay. I think that's it. And guys, have a fantastic day. See you later.